our intern Ram decided to approach us with a great idea of like, should we have a podcast?
Right.
And I thought it was a great idea because like I think you and I could do with some couples counselling.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're growing apart a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, we've talked about this. It used to be like everything I did, I would come up to you and be like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Same, we used to do that, but now we're so busy in our own directions.
Our own bubbles, right?
Yeah, so I feel like we're growing apart, and this little podcast is just an excuse to chat to you once a week.
It's funny because we do this Monday morning.
Yeah, we do.
Every Monday morning we try. Sometimes gets moved around a little bit, but it's like our debrief.
And the difference is we have a name for that. We don't have a name for this.
Yeah, but maybe this is our real debrief. Like this is where we get the real lowdown, and we share it with everyone else.
That's a bit scary. But no, this one I think is going to be a bit more intimate, a bit more personal. We're going to delve it. Think our past 6 p.m. conversations.
Right.
Of just us chatting.
Are you sure?
Huh?
Are you sure?
Nah, I don't want to air that kind of laundry out. That's where me and Ash talk about real stuff.
But we're going to talk about real stuff on this as well.
Less about what we do for a living in terms of what is D2C, what is Amazon, more about how we're doing emotionally as we do these things. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Caravadra behind the camera has some questions for us. He's been told to prepare 3 a week, so if you hate them, judge The Apprentice. What you got for us today?
How does it feel running a successful business at a young age?
Ah, stop. I don't feel entitled to answer this question.
I think you should feel entitled to handle that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is how modest Sam is, by the way.
No, it's...
He's been here through... Okay, yeah, he will always say, I wasn't there right at the start. We weren't all there right at the start, but you've been here through one of the biggest growth parts of our company. So.
Yeah. Okay. It's so many things. Like, it's so exciting. Remember our post 6 o'clock conversation upstairs about one of our employees, about how far she's come. I'm going to be really vague because like Ram's actually here.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about him, but like this is something that I don't want to be around when people hear. But that's the stuff I live for, man. It's we were talking about where we're gonna take her in her career next because she's shown so much potential in that department. Ram actually came up in conversation about the fact that he can, how quickly he's picked up video editing, and it just feels special to be a part of that. And like, not that we're uncool, but we don't get invited to a lot of the staff stuff.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And that's explainable, with
it's
managers.
alright, kind of brush it off a little bit.
Invite. Kidding. But what I like about that is that, we are somewhat responsible for the environment that brought these people together. That's what I feel like privileged to feel. It feels very special to see people grow and to offer a platform to allow people to grow and to unite people.
Definitely.
That's what I like. What about you? What does it feel like for you?
You know what? On a day-to-day basis, I forget about it. I forget what we're doing, where we are, and I don't mean to. It's just we're so caught up, and I often when we're doing things, I forget the bigger picture of where we come, how far we've come, what we're doing. Yeah. Because I'm like talking about a single invoice and how something went wrong, or I'm complaining about something else, and you think about that and you think everything is still really, it's very small scale. Yeah. So I like to every now and then just think about like, Sam and I used to record a podcast, or we tried to, in the very early days. We did it with...
You talk about winging it?
Yeah, winging it. So we did that with Jamie back in the day. We tried a few of our own little bits and bobs. Yeah. Obviously we've done some with Ollie as well that I'm sure the audience have heard every single one. Yeah. Every single episode.
That die-hard fan in Russia.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, always going. But yeah, so let's just go back to those. Okay, it seems like we're just the same people. Yeah. Let's just look at our surroundings, like this room as a whole. Yeah.
Still a bit bare, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it's bare, but it's like it's nice. Yeah. And clean. Whereas before it was very like filled with my old shelves, a wonky desk, all of that. So I look at all of that and I'm like, you know what? If we could go back and just show them a photo of like what's going on at the moment, they'd be really fill them with a lot of energy. So. Yeah. Do
you have this, I wonder, do you have this disconnect between material items and success? In that, I watched a video on Gymshark where they like announced a new headquarters or something, maybe Chicago. And I was just like, how does someone like Ben Francis or whoever's responsible for that project, I'm sure there's 20 people working on it, how do they think I'm going to invest X million into that in hopes that it will be successful. I'm sure they have research to back it up.
Yeah.
But, like even this room, when we spent a fair bit of money getting it to the state, we want to make it better, but this was dubbed the junkyard at one point.
Yeah.
And just spending, you know, a couple of hundred, I mean, it was quite a lot, this table, this conference table and stuff like that. Like, I can't see that these things equal success, but we do it, and now we host some really exciting meetings in here, which I really, really
absolutely
like.
Some game changer meetings. So.
Yeah. Do you have that disconnect?
Yeah, it took time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll ask the same to you in a moment, but it's definitely taken some time, because certainly when we were in the early days, every pound that we made felt like, this is a pound that's straight in my pocket. Okay, I wouldn't literally put it in my pocket, but it would feel like that, because you're on the line, really going for it. And it still feels like that to a certain extent, but you get to a point where you realize, unless you're making investments, and some of them are direct, so you'll see the immediate impact of them. You employ someone, suddenly you can your output's more. You order more packaging for more orders. You know, they're very direct.
No.
But you start to realize, unless you start investing in the indirect things, everything, a lot of things stay stagnant over time.
Yeah.
And you've got to have that belief that, okay, there's a difference between investing and blowing money.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're investing in things that, you know what, you can kind of see the dots connecting in the future, that you get a nice meeting room, you get a good desk, you'll encourage the right kind of clients that are visiting you to make the right kind of decisions. It seems far-fetched, but you can kind of see those dots connecting. So you got to believe in that and where that goes. But when you say, is there a disconnect? I still value every single penny, as you've probably seen. I won't let any. Yeah, right. we value everything, and that's one of the reasons we pride ourselves on efficiency.
Yeah.
On the same token, when an investment needs to be made, we won't hesitate.
Yeah, because in my head, like a conference room does not equal, or a meeting room does not equal meetings. Meetings are the most important thing.
Right.
But I do think with this, we kind of hit a limit where we couldn't host the meetings we needed to host because of a lack of a meeting room. But sorry, Ram, if you have more questions, but I really wanted to. I've got an idea, and I want to delve into this.
Just quickly there. Let's keep that. Make sure you hold that thought there. Let's talk about like when we were a lot smaller, or we had a different kind of layout in here.
Yeah.
We used to think, how can we become one of the best agencies? How can we be that brand? Well, they've got everything on lock.
Yeah.
And it's little things like this, little investments that you're making, marketing things, a new website, a new fresh look, good photography, a webinar, podcast, all of that. That leads us down that direction. So yeah, I mean, webinars as a whole, we host quite a few. They cost us, right? It's time, it's effort.
True.
The money that goes behind the designs and everything, there's no direct benefit, but it's all leading us towards changing this industry and making our mark on it.
Yeah, and I think that's where the disconnect is. It's almost a false disconnect because it's obvious in hindsight. Because the idea that the route I wanted to take this conversation down is around mental health, and sort of being young entrepreneurs. We discuss this at great length, more in private, I guess, because like we have certain things that we have to maintain. People need to understand that we know the vision behind the business and we fully believe in it. We can't. Even though saying something might not shake away from that, people need to our team need to wholeheartedly believe in that.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then there goes the thing that you and I have battled with for so long, in that rest equals productivity. But there's a disconnect there, isn't it?
Right.
Like in a very similar way of like, having a good meeting room doesn't mean you'll have good meetings. It's that same disconnect for me, and only recently, now that I've tried it, I've taken some rest, I've gone on a couple of holidays, and I'm more energized than ever, that I see it. But before, I was like, how does stopping make me go faster?
Yeah.
And I just wonder what your thoughts were on that, in terms of when you consider rest and when you consider mental well-being, do you see that as a factor in productivity?
Absolutely. So, I'll firstly go to the point that often the things that are less obvious are the things that are right.
Yeah, okay.
And we can kind of paraphrase that later on. But the idea is that just because A plus B equals C doesn't mean that that's the best outcome. Right. Often you have to, there's a lot more formula behind it. There's a lot more that is required to really get to the outcome that you want. So when you get this disconnect, I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's not always obvious to get to where you want to be. So I found that myself, the same as you, that I used to, I kind of find myself like, oh, if I work X amount of hours, then I'll hit certain productivity. And to a certain extent, that's absolutely true. Yeah. You know, you've got to put in the work. You absolutely do. Otherwise, nothing's moving. But you have to value and understand that you as a human being, you have a limit. Yeah. You have a limit at this moment in time. Okay, in the future, you're probably able to handle 10 times the amount of tasks, but you organize yourself in a different way. But at this moment in time, you have a limit to what you're capable of doing. Understand that, what you're capable of doing, and know when to take off and ease off a little bit. And that's not quitting. That's not like, oh, I'm gonna just pack this in. It's, I'll come back to this when I'm in a much better mood. And I've learned that, just as you have, a lot, probably in the worst ways. I've gone through burnout at certain points. I'm not afraid to admit that. Very open that, I've been very close to burnout at certain points, and I've really hit it. And I don't want to get back there, because that puts you in a situation where really you can't think of anything other than just, I want to pack this all in. And business does really test you on that.
Well, it takes its toll on you for sure. And what I want to know, because I subscribe to all the podcasts, I listen to Ali Abdaal, Stephen Bartlett, all of these people who warn people about this, which is great. It's great that they're doing this. Do you think that's something that can be learned, or something that you have to go through? Because they never talk about this. Do you think you have to go through it yourself before you realize, shit, I need rest? Or do you think you can watch something like that, read something like that, and take precautions?
It's a good point.
Because I don't know myself.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Yeah. Let's take physical injuries, because they're easier to understand, or more obvious, right? So say you've got a sportsman, and you've got a sportsman that doesn't listen to any other advice from anyone, and has never taken previous advice from other top sportsmen on how they manage their bodies. Yeah. If those sportsmen and sportswomen, if they have an injury, or they overwork their body, they overexhaust themselves, and they face some serious injuries, if they're not paying attention to what other people do, or they speak about in terms of, when you have a certain injury, make sure you apply ice, or make sure you maintain yourself, this is the recovery mode, this is the physio you need, this is everything that you go on about, then they'll keep finding themselves facing different kinds of injuries. It may not be the same one, because they've learned their lesson with their shoulder, but it may be their other shoulder, or it may be their hamstrings and other things. So I'd say, to a certain extent, you do have to go through that injury, mental injury of like facing some kind of strain, hopefully not burnout, but some kind of really finding yourself in a point that you're not comfortable and you know your limit. But taking the advice from these other sportsmen or these other business leaders that have entrepreneurs that have gone through a lot, and understanding the kind of the treatments that you can go through. So, even talking about things such as taking 20 minutes in the morning just to really think about your thoughts, how you want to structure your day, meditation, these kinds of things. That was what I'd call treatment. This is what a previous sportsman or woman would have given to someone about a physical injury. That's kind of my thought process behind that.
I find it interesting that you link the link you draw between mental and physical. Have you, and I have this and I can talk about it, but have you ever had a physical manifestation of a mental issue? Not a mental issue, but like you mentioned burnout or anything like that you might have gone through. Has it ever manifested in a physical way?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it really has.
Okay.
So well, this is where you almost think, is it just me thinking this, or is it genuinely what's happened? Is it just a coincidence that I felt a mental repercussion when I was going through something? But I found two periods in my time, very small, but they were very quick, where I was hitting some kind of burnout. I was certainly exhausting myself for that ash at that moment in time. Probably something I could quite easily handle now, I'd hope. But at the time, it was something new, and it really stressed me, strained where I was. Yeah. And I found that I went through a period of illness following that. And I like to think that I'm someone who's fairly well kept. You can obviously never avoid an illness if it comes by, but certainly when you put yourself in such a vulnerable position mentally, your body as a whole can be impacted, and your immune system being weaker, and so on. So yeah, I found myself, I mean, even 5 years ago, I'll speak about this. 5 or 6 years ago, just as I was joining World Products, and it was the first time I was really working and worked all over the summer. It was the first time really I really went for it, because before that was uni, which is just very much.
What is that?
Yeah, you just prior to your exams. So yeah, I went through this for World Products, and yeah, I had a viral condition over that summer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I went to see the doctors, and they weren't sure what it was. Lasted about 2 or 3 weeks, a little bit like chickenpox. Yeah. Really just took its toll on me.
Yeah.
And I look back, and it was just very different to what I normally, like I said, I like to keep myself fairly healthy, and I realised that was a point when I was very vulnerable mentally. So perhaps can't give scientific evidence, but I've seen it myself.
Yeah. No, I got something similar with alopecia.
Okay.
Currently got it now. Let me just show the camera. A little ball patch in my beard, a couple down here. They only manifest in the most stressful parts of my life, and it's weird because I can handle very stressful situations at work.
Right.
I hope. And the levels of stress at work can peak and reach super high levels, and I should be fine. The problem is it has to go somewhere. So if my work life is incredibly stressful, my personal life needs to be at bare bones zero stress.
Right.
And so what I've realized is as my personal life increases in stress, that's where things start to manifest. Through alopecia, I had shingles at one point, and I think the shingles was the biggest wake-up call. That's where I was just like, I'm experiencing physical pain. And again, I looked it up, and stress could be a factor, and it could be just, like you said, it could just be a coincidence.
Yeah.
But that was during a particular stressful part of my personal life.
Sure.
And I think a combination of the two, my body was just like, man, fuck off.
Did your sorry, I'll ask.
Go ahead.
So things like your alopecia, did that help highlight to you the fact you were going through this personal stress?
The second time around, yes. The first time, no. Because the second time I got it, it was one particular event in my life that happens.
Yeah.
We've spoken about this, but one event happened breakup. Every time I go through a breakup, I get alopecia.
Right.
For some reason, and it's usually when I'm pretty preoccupied with work, and then, like I said, the personal thing, something happens.
Sure.
And only now I can feel some of the hair starting to grow back. So I was like, all right, maybe I'm starting to sort some shit out. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it'll come back eventually.
You know what? I as much as I really dislike the physical repercussions of it, I almost feel like it's our bodies basically just giving us some kind of physical indication that you need to sort yourself out. Something isn't right, because I've seen it, right? We could be going through some major stress, as you say, personal or in work. But our minds have a reaction of it's fine, you stay in the moment. It's absolutely all good. I'm handling it, but it's not good for us. Something somewhere, some hormone somewhere is telling our body this is absolutely not good.
Well, because like you said, we keep shrugging off these feelings to a point where the body has no choice. It's like, it's time to riot. They didn't listen to our peaceful protest. Yeah. So it's time to riot, and that's where things like, viral infection, shingles, alopecia come in.
Sure. So just like as a bit of advice to someone aspiring entrepreneur, what would you suggest to someone who is probably in their early 20s, probably not experienced much stress other than a bit of uni maybe, or a bit of college?
You don't know stress.
Stop it. Get some help.
There's something at school or college, uni, that's probably the most that they've experienced, maybe a little bit in their family life or personal life. But other than that, they're now going into business, they're setting up their own business, which is really exciting. Yeah. What kind of, what bits of advice would you give them?
It's hard to give, man, because like I said, if you, I ignore them. I'm not very good at this. But, and like, I needed physical manifestation for me to go, okay, maybe Stephen Bartlett had a point, Grace Beverly had a point, Ali Abdaal had a point. But if somebody is inclined to listen to my advice, it would be think how motivated you are to do a particular task and how motivated you were. If that has changed, that should be the earliest warning sign. If at one point you thought, I get to do this and I get to work on that, and now you're just like, if I don't do this, I'm going to get sacked. If you think that, that is a very that's a sign of maybe you haven't lost motivation to work, but maybe you've taken on too much. Or, you've pushed so far beyond the boundary that you've gone into like survival mode. To me, that'll be like the earliest symptom. Yeah, that's what I got. How about you? Just a shift in motivation.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely fine. I think drawing on that, you're absolutely spot on with the shift in motivation. It's a great telling sign of when things change. All I would give, because I often see these Instagram posts or these accounts where they're like, if you don't like what you do, then pack it in. Quit. Quit. Go change something else. Change it up or something. And fair enough to a certain extent. But really, you got to remember these Instagram account people are just sitting behind a keyboard creating memes or whatever they're doing. Like, in my experience, we're still relatively young entrepreneurs. There's people with tons of experience, so they'll probably have far more or different insights to me or to us. What I would suggest though, or what I must say is, whilst you need to make sure your motivation is there and everything, you're not going to like 100% of everything that you do.
Right. Not enough people say that.
Yeah, this is it. Like, people come to me and they say, you must love what you do. I absolutely do. Yeah. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. I love, some of the stuff we do, I get a real thrill out of it. But there are things, to get to where we want to be, there are things that, you're just doing because you have to do. That could be things that you don't enjoy. I get a kick out of doing like accounts, which are really weird. But for some people, that's like horrific. But you've got to do it. If you're running a business, you've got to get through the books. You've got to understand the finance, or to a certain extent, you've got to put some Excel sheets in and things. It could be paying tax. I'm picking the boring things. It could be things like some people don't like marketing, but you've got to do it if you're starting a brand, setting up. So whatever it is, individual to everyone else, individual to yourself, you're not going to enjoy it. Okay, as you grow, maybe you employ someone to take on that task and they would actually enjoy that. But be careful about kind of quitting based on the fact that there's a task you don't like. That's all I'm saying.
No, I thought of something as you were talking. I 100% love 92% of my job. Cool. Well, we've got 22 minutes out of one of Ram's questions. So sorry, I asked you to prepare 3. We might not get through all of them. What else you got? Or are we done on that one?
Yeah.
Happy days. Yeah. What else?
We could always talk.
What would be one reason that makes you want to go above and beyond?
We're gonna ask you this.
You're gonna ask me this. What's one reason why I want to go above and beyond? Okay. I can say this because I've before here I came out of a deadbeat job. Not a deadbeat. That was really harsh. Don't look at my LinkedIn. No, I had a job that was essentially leading nowhere through some actions of my own.
Sure.
I was a bit of a cowboy and I spoke up in the wrong ways to the wrong people, which landed me in trouble. But because for me personally, anyway, is because I've seen this apply to almost everything in life. You just get what you put in. You get back what you put in. And I was told this at uni, and I wish I listened to the advice then. Maybe I'm just bad at taking advice, but somebody told me that in like orientation or whatever the UK equivalent of that is. Of like, this course is you get back what you put in, and I didn't get much, but clearly that might be because I put in very little. Same with my previous job, in that I just walked around thinking I knew best. I was like, that's broken, fix it. And that's what got me in a lot of trouble with management. Whereas here, when I started at Indian Mart and started at World Product, is I just felt like, and some employers will reciprocate this better than others, but if you really put in the work and give it time, you will see the fruits of your labor. You will see that, I did all of this and now I get to see that happen. I did all of this and I get to be rewarded, whether it is financially, whether it is how good the thing is that you worked on.
Right.
And that's sort of it. That's what really clicked for me. Back when I worked at Indian Mart, I was like, I want to make, like, I'm finally working within my passion, and I'm going to give it 100%. I don't care what it takes. I'm just going to give it everything. And I got everything back.
Yeah.
And I think I was waiting to get everything back before I put it in as a little teaser or taste to motivate me. And it just doesn't work like that. Sometimes you just got to put it all in and hope. Maybe there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
Put it all in and hope you get something in return. And the odds are in your favor that you will get something back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, obviously, as we run the business and we go forward, it's the same when you're putting effort into the business.
Yeah.
The only people that will pay us are our clients, and obviously what the services that we do for them and everything there. So we can put a lot of work in for each client.
Yeah.
The same as an employee would do it for an employer. You can't expect that you're going to get the return, either directly or indirectly from them. You know, they may respect your work, they may not, they may jump ship, they may go for another idea. You can't expect it, but if you give your absolute best, then you can't blame yourself, really.
Right.
You know, you can walk away saying, you know what, I actually gave that my shot. Because as you talk about with your job, and I can talk about in past experiences where I've given second best, and I know that I could have done more, and when it doesn't quite go my way and the universe didn't give me the return that I wanted, I could blame myself, and I didn't like that feeling.
Right.
You know, I prefer something else to be blamed for in that sense. So yeah, that's absolutely, I get that, and it's just not expecting to a certain extent as well. Yeah.
Sorry, cut that please. Just me drinking. I have a follow-up question. Do you find yourself that you blame yourself more than others?
Well, yes. I don't know why.
As in, do you find you do you blame yourself more than you blame others? Do you blame yourself more than other people blame themselves?
Ooh, it's a very deep one.
Yeah, because I think about this a lot.
I think I do go through spells of doing that. And I like to say that I'm on top of it, top of being healthy, but now and then I probably do. I'm probably very hard on myself internally. Could be going through a bad week, could be a couple of bad issues that have gone on, and you really fall into a trap of blaming yourself. You know, it's like a spiral.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I'd like to say that I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect, far from it, and I do occasionally fall back into it, but and I'll ask this you in this moment, but I think for me, I'm learning to realize, like, it's okay to be wrong at times. Actually, it's okay to give your second best. You're not, you almost put yourself on a pedestal. Yeah. And I don't know when I did that, but sometimes I put myself on a pedestal, and I'm like, if anything is second best, I blamed it. But how about you?
Okay. Can you ask that again?
Yeah. So. So your question to me obviously was, do I blame myself for things going wrong more than other people would blame themselves for things going wrong in a certain situation or scenario? Do you find you often do that with yourself?
I almost exclusively blame myself for most things, and it comes from my decision to study media at uni. I was under a lot of pressure to go study medicine. And the thing that scared me was, not scared me, but if I went and studied medicine and did all of those things, if I didn't like it at the end, I would have a host of people to blame, the people who put the pressure on me. And so when I went to study media, I had this like quite scary realization that if this goes wrong, it's on me. And what I didn't realize is there's two sides to the coin. There is one of just like being so hard on yourself that you never get up off the couch. It's a very real possibility. I know it sounds extreme, but you can kick yourself down. Like you really can. But the other thing is that from a productivity aspect is you're never waiting around for somebody to come save the day. It's your fault, so you're the only one with the power to fix it.
Sure.
And so you're right. There are two sides to that coin. One can be a very slippery slope, and the other one can be quite healthy in terms of productivity. And the reason why I ask this, for the millionth time this week, I'm going to talk about my trip to Berlin.
Yeah, all right.
Because there are some stereotypes about German people that I would like to address. Because when I say Germany, do you think, efficiency, strict, all of that stuff? And I think what that's led me to believe is like almost like no emotion towards life or no... But what I did notice is this mentality of everything is within the realm of their control.
Right.
Amongst the people that I met some strangers, I met up with some friends, and if something is wrong, they do something about it. And that's something that in the time that I've lived here, I've seen, but there it's in everybody. In that there is such a culture of doing more and exploring more. There is a runway, I believe, used by the Nazis that has been shut down. And now the people took a vote. Instead of building apartment blocks on it, they have just left it just left it as a runway.
Yeah.
And there I saw some kids cycling. I saw a guy with a huge kite on a skateboard. I saw like a plot of land separated, allocated to people to grow things. And I'm sure all these things here exist here in the UK. It's just the people that I was surrounded by. I just saw this willingness and wantingness to do more.
Yeah.
And the people that I met kind of made me feel like this is something that they really, like there was a lot to life and they were so willing to go out and get it.
Yeah.
And I really, really admired that. And maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's quite a German mentality.
Yeah.
Sure. And that might be the positive way of looking at it. Like my happiness is my responsibility rather than when everything goes wrong, it's entirely my fault.
I love that. That's really nice. And as long as there's that healthy in between and that nice balance, I think that's very interesting and can lead to great outcomes. And I mean, this is going to get real corny, but I guess things like that you only realize when you do travel to new places and you experience cultures or different thoughts outside of our own.
Yeah.
I read a tweet about the way American culture is quite different in certain places. I think they were talking about California and the tech side of things.
Yeah.
And they were talking about whereas the UK has a very, and again, this is summarizing as a whole, the UK has a culture of where you've come from. America is more where you're going.
Right.
And what this leads to is the mentality of, trying and persevering dreams.
Yeah.
Whereas the UK is, I can't lose the castle that I've built already, or the hill that I've done. Right.
Yeah.
So this goes to why there are amazing tech companies in America. The willingness to really think beyond and visualize that. I'm going to be the best in whatever I choose to do. So, sorry, going really varying, but I love that because it made me think this morning, following the conversations that you've spoken about Berlin and things that, really, like, we need to travel a lot more.
Yeah. Well, you and I have a bet going on, which I'm just going to check on now. If Bitcoin exceeds 100k, man, it tanked. It broke my heart, not because of my money in Bitcoin, but because our holiday prospects went down. Should we just scrap the bet and actually just commit to going on holiday?
I don't think we need to scrap the bet.
No, you're still confident?
Oh yeah,
because you extended it from December to like maybe early January.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna sound to the audience, it's gonna sound like some gambling thing, but we'll talk about Bitcoin at another point because I think that could be a whole 30-minute episode on its own.
Yeah.
But it's also funny saying it tanked when it's still.
Well, I say tanked as in it went from 50 grand to 44.
I think people in the world need to zoom out. Not you, even the people on Twitter. Maybe. But we are going on holiday. Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to worry about that.
Sounds good to me, man.
So I think travel. Yeah. That would be my thing. It's hard for young entrepreneurs to travel.
Yep.
It just is. I mean, it's obvious why.
Yeah.
But it could be really important to helping things. Yeah.
Cool, man. That's pretty much all we've got time for. Any summarizing thoughts? Anything you want to wrap up on? Anything we missed?
No, I think for this episode, I'm pretty set. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. We just got to come up with a name before we release this thing. So Ram, if you could get to working on that would be swell. Just a reminder, when you're editing this video, you can go, damn, we got a name. Yeah, we got to come up with a name. But that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching and listening if you did. Hope that fan from Russia for the original podcast came back to tune in. Kept us.
Yeah, and I mean, whoever is listening, be it one fan, two fans, if you got any thoughts about what you want to hear, this is really flexible, We're really talking about cool things. We can talk about anything you want. Within reason.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, there is no reason. But it'd just be really good. Like maybe we talk about entrepreneurship stories, people we aspire to be like, things like that. It'd be really cool.
Cool. I look forward to it, And if anyone wants to hear anything, save Ram the work of having to come up with questions every week. Just shoot them up and put something in the comments.
You fan from Russia.
Yes, fan from Russia. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of those words. Thanks for watching. I deleted that, so we're going to have to go again.
Yeah.
How you doing? But the one thing that I did, oh man, I feel terrible. I just hung up on your dad live.
That's okay. We'll watch this later.
Okay, I'm really sorry if you're watching this. Like, this is the only reason why I had to do it. I'm so sorry. Okay, it made me feel like I'm gonna have to do it again.